Well, I really love games that give you that schmovement, you know? It's like normal movement, but it elevates it into flashy territory. Not so flashy that it's ineffective, and it's almost like a new kung fu style, with the tempo, with the rhythm, with the momentum, crane stance, tiger stance. They're elegant and effective. It's very different from punching someone in the nards, moonwalking, cabbage patching, and then cranking them right in the soldier boys. I say you, these are not the same feelings. But might I interest you in Enenra? It's a prototype third-person hack and slash where you play as a cyber ninja dicing, dashing, and teleporting your way through the air, and anyone who might be breathing said air at that moment in time. Now, where this game shines in particular is the degree of schmovement given in and also out of the combat. I've played numerous hack and slash games that do make me feel like a berserking ballerina during the battle. It's the in-between the battles where I feel like I'm riding the bus. The groove just goes completely cold. Here, though, it is maintaining itself well outside of the food temperature danger zone. It's not 100% freeing, maybe like 90%, as there are parts where the map traversal is on rails, but it keeps me involved enough to stay warm in between the areas. The fighting is satisfying, simple, yet layered, donkey. It let me spam the same buttons over and over and over again, or I could chain hits into massive juggles, or just build up a big old finisher. And that teleportation mechanic's so schmoo, baby. Fighting from afar, fighting in their mouth, in the blink of an eye. Just flared up the dreams I had of being Nightcrawler from X-Men when I was younger. I had the most satisfying fights with these single target characters that couldn't counter me. There is a counter mechanic, and it is a good one, but compared to the dynamic pace of everything else, it almost felt like the odd man out. I've never quite liked the waiting that sort of mechanic usually entails, and I still don't. It's no different here. It's almost more criminal because of how nice the flow is here. Failing to counter feels like a string broke on my violin, and succeeding the counter felt like I hit a sour note. So that's why I said deuces to the countering. The single target thing. Varying amounts of enemies also made my enjoyment levels vary. This version didn't have the smoothest of target lock-on systems I've ever played with, so fighting in a crowd had me hoping I flicked to the right target or hoping that no one bothered me while I focused on dicing up one guy. As far as the environment goes, it is quite well suited for housing the quantum debauchery I was inflicting. And two areas stood out to me. One was in a mega building. The objective there was to get to the top. There were a bunch of enemies in there, but the objective was to get to the top. By this point, I had figured out which system I fancied more between fight and flight. And it was refreshing to just be able to dash and evade my way through instead of being forced to partake in the beat-em-ups. Wait a minute. If you chose to not fight because you didn't have to, doesn't that make the combat bad? No, because I chose the option I liked more. Not the option I hate the less, east. It's a risk, just like the English language. If given the choice, yes, I may plow through the entire game doing the same thing over and over, but that's better than growing to resent the systems. The current build didn't have much in the way of environmental obstacles, so while I did trivialize the area, it was still fun getting it through it my way. It's nice to feel a bit naughty every now and again. Speaking of naughty, I didn't vibe too much with the final boss. She was a heavy counter, and it was in an enclosed area. As stated before, the character operates best when making space or closing gaps. The smaller environment minimized me from omnidirectional marvel to a straightforward, turn-based bouncer. The good news is her AI must have previously been inside of a Tyrannosaurus because I could run away, stop moving, and she'd lose track of me. Gooder news is the game's not finished yet, so who knows where we might end up. And in spite of that, it's still got a training mode. Frickin' sick. I despise tutorial modes that take too long, and I don't like learning under fire. So having a training mode is perfect. If you want your own copy to take home with you, the link will be in the description. Now get out there and become the ninja you were meant to be.